Project Veritas, which we mentioned before on this program. They kind of do undercover interviews where they sneak in. Tell us about this latest thing, James.
Couple of shocking videos. I'll show you one of them in a second here. But basically, they've spoken to administrators at some very Tony schools in America. One, somebody at a private school, Trinity School in New York City. Another one, the assistant principal at a public school, a public high school in Connecticut, in a very Tony suburb there, talking about how, basically they're trying to remake the school, turn it into a propaganda factory, not hire anybody who has the wrong values. So this principal we're about to hear, he talks about how they won't hire Catholics because they might have more conservative values, won't hire older teachers because they might have more conservative values, all because they want to get into your kids' heads and make them think the way they want to. Have a look.
So then what do you do with the Catholics if you find out someone is Catholic?
Teaching them how to think. That's it. It doesn't matter what they think about it. If they think about it in a logical, progressive way, that becomes their attitude.
So you kind of like gear them to think in a more liberal way.
I believe the hoping the more progressive teachers are actually more savvy about delivering a democratic message without really ever mentioning politics.
So there you have it. They are sneaking politics under the radar. And this is why I think, I'm sure this is happening at schools across Australia.
Here.
And this is why you talk to so many parents, and parents say, the kids come home and I have to deprogram them every night from the garbage they've been pushed in the schools.
It gets worse than that, because Rita mentioned earlier brainwashing. What that teacher goes on to say, it's a lengthy interview, it's worth watching online, the Project Veritas interview, but the teacher is aware, the headmaster rather, that he is by law not allowed to put political notions to the kids. So he describes how he gets around that by only employing teachers once he's vetted them that they are sufficiently left-wing, hard left on everything from transgenderism to climate, etc., etc. So he gets the teachers in there and they are literally grooming. I know it's a strong word, but they are grooming our children and our grandchildren. They are grooming them into the whole gender identity philosophy. They are grooming them into extreme climate alarmism, and they are doing it knowingly, James, knowing it's against the law to do it. And he also details in that interview how they trick the parents. So they, for example, the kids use those wacky pronouns that you were referring to earlier, but they never use them in front of the parents, and they're told not to.
Well, this indoctrination, it's widespread, and they think they're doing God's work. That's the thing. It's not like they're sitting there going, "Ooh, aren't we sinister and evil for brainwashing these impressionable children?" They think that they are so close-minded that
God's work if God is Joe Biden.
Their point of view,
Rita and Rowan, what this comes down to, this is the Manichaean politics of the left. This goes back to an ancient heresy which saw the world divided into light and dark forces, and that if you're on the force of light, any crime you committed on the behalf of defeating the forces of darkness was something that was perfectly allowed. This heresy lives on in our schools, in our politics. It lived on in Joe Biden's speech, which we just saw excerpts from. We see it in these schools where they decide that it is perfectly fine to go out and overrule the wishes of parents, overrule the idea of the school charters that say, you're not supposed to have politics, because they want to remake a new utopia in their own leftist, Marxist, socialist frame.
And they regard the parents as the enemy.
Yes.
And they regard parents as the one obstacle.
As they do in every totalitarian.
Because the parents are an obstacle. The parents have far too much influence on their children. And we saw the end point of this. It's not just with children. That kind of thinking, that mad rationalisation where whatever it takes to get your message across and get your people. We saw that with Sam Harris, who's again doubling down with his Trump derangement syndrome. This man who was held up as a critical thinker, one of the main figures in the intellectual dark web. Well, you know what? He's been exposed as utterly unhinged. He's got this massive blind spot.
We went to his show and I wasted money.